Modern Horizons 3 is not your average Magic the Gathering set. While sets like the recent Outlaws of Thunder Junction or Murders at Karlov Manor explore new worlds at a normal power level, fit for Standard and Pioneer, Modern Horizons 3 is a set specifically designed for non-rotating formats like Modern, Commander, Legacy, Pauper, and more. Well, say now, Jim, what does that mean exactly? Yes, I'm very curious. Maybe you can clue us in. Well, it means two things. The first is power, power, power. Modern Horizons 3 is a very powerful set designed with these older formats in mind, meaning the average card is going to be quite a bit stronger than what you might be used to. This means you can expect a lot of fireworks in your games. These cards are poised to make an impact. Secondly, this is a set all about celebrating Magic's rich history. Magic's been around for over 30 years, and Modern Horizons sets are all about putting that history on display. Expect to see old school mechanics returning in new lights, callbacks and updates to classic cards, and exciting reprints of cards not yet legal in Modern. But wait, that's not all. Modern Horizons 3 isn't just for constructed, as just like the previous Modern Horizons sets, it's also designed to be drafted. Modern Horizons 1 and 2 are both incredibly deep and rewarding draft formats, and Modern Horizons 3 coming to both your local store, as well as MTG Arena and Magic Online. There are a ton of ways to enjoy Magic's most dynamic format. However, there's just one catch. With all these crazy mechanics and powerful cards, it can be a lot to take in at first, but that's why you've got me here to break down the 10 color pairs and what they're all about in Modern Horizons 3. My name's Jim Davis, full-time content creator and professional Magic player, and I'm here to show you the archetypes of Modern Horizons 3 Limited. Like all modern-day Magic sets, Modern Horizons is built on archetypes for each color pair. That means each color pair is all about a certain theme or idea. Breaking these down will not only help you draft your two-color pair properly, but also show you spots or possible overlap and what themes work well together. Whenever you see a multicolored cards, you can consider those signposts for what a color pair wants to do. I'll be highlighting one rare for each archetype as well. So, let's go. First up is Blue-White Energy Flyers. Now, Blue-White Flyers has been an archetype in Limited since, I don't know, Sarah Angel and Friends. It's always worked out really well, right? So Blue and White has the good defensive cards, you have the good flying creatures, and this set is no different. Look here at Riddlegate Gargoyle, one of the common multicolored cards for Blue-White. It's meant for a 2/2 flyer. EDB get 3 energy. Now, of course, energy is a returning mechanic from the Kaladesh set. Energy is a resource, you just get the track and spend as you will. So this card gives you 3 energy when you play it. Then whenever you attack, you may spend 2 energy to give a creature lifelink, which is obviously very, very good when you're racing. Also check out Voltstorm Angel. I just mentioned Sarah Angel. This one's just like that, right? 5 mana for a 4/4 flyer. EDB get 3 energy counters. Beginning combat your turn, you can pay 2 energy, and if you do, choose one. Vigilance and lifelink, or pump the whole team, which is pretty powerful. So very, very clear card for the archetype. Next up is Emissary of Soulfire. 3 mana for a 1/4. When it ETBs, you get 3 energy, and you may pay 2 energy to put an Exalted counter on a creature. Only as a sorcery. Now this is a good defensive body on the ground. That can help pump your flyers up with the Exalted in the air. Works out really, really well in the archetype. It wouldn't be Blue-White, that's some counter spells. Check out Aether Spike. 2 mana, get 2 energy. Then you can spend any number of energy to make them have to pay 1 more for that spell they're casting. Pretty awesome counterspell, plays well in the archetype. As far as a rare to look out for, check out Wrath of the Skies, white X. You get X energy, and then you can destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment with mana value less than or equal to the amount of energy that you pay. So you can kill the small things, keep big flyers in play, and run the skies. Blue-White's a classic, and of course we'll enjoy generically good removal spells and counter spells. Gonna be one to watch out for. Next up is Blue-Black Card Draw. Now, of course, drawing cards is obviously awesome. There are a lot of cards in Blue-Black that give you a bonus for drawing cards, like Sneaky Snacker. 2 mana for a 2/1 Flying Fairy Rogue. Whenever you draw your 3rd card in a turn, you return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So that's an awesome card. A 2/1 flyer for 2 is obviously great, and come back for more over and over again. We've also got other payoffs here for drawing lots of cards, like Mindless Conscription. 3 mana for an enchantment, EDB, and you amass 3. And whenever you draw your 3rd card for a turn, you do it again. So this can happen over and over and over again over the course of the game, which is really, really cool. And we have Kami of Jealous Thirst. 3 mana for a 1/3 creature with Death Touch. Good body overall. Costs 5 mana to drain your opponent for 2. But if you've drawn 3 or more cards a turn, it's actually free, which is really, really nice. Now, of course, you're going to need ways to draw cards, turn these cards on. But drawing cards is great, so not a problem at all, right? Check out Brain Surge. 3 mana for an instant, draw 4, put 2 back. Now, even though you're putting 2 cards back here, this will trigger all of your draw effects, which is great. And then we have Hard Shadow Spinner. 3 mana for a 2/3 lifelink. Again, good body. Whenever it attacks, you may draw cards equal to its power. If you do, discard that many cards. This can trigger all of these cards every turn, which is huge. As far as a rare to look out for, check out Psychic Frog. Throw back to Psychotog. 2 mana for a 1/2. Whenever it does combat damage to a player or planeswalker, draw a card. You can discard a card to put a counter on it, and then exile cards from your graveyard to give it flying. This card is awesome. Draw cards, control the board, do your thing. Next up is Black-Red Artifacts. Simple theme, Put a lot of artifacts in your deck and get paid off for it. Check out Cranial Ram, a callback to cranial plating. 2 mana for a equipment. It's a living weapon, which means it's an equipment that comes with a 0/0 already attached to it. And the creature gets +X/+1, where X is the number of artifacts you control. This is huge, all right? So if you have a bunch of artifacts in play, this means you can have power go all over the place. Greater than a flyer, really, really good card. Now, it's going to be important to have cheap artifacts in a deck like this to make sure you can turn all your artifact stuff on, which is why Ethereum Terramander is awesome. It's cheap artifacts, it is flying, but it can also grow later once you have the artifacts in play to use it. Also returning in a set is the mechanic Affinity for Artifacts, which makes every spell with that ability cost less for each artifact you control, which is an awesome ability. 4 mana for a 2/1 flyer here in Refurbished Familiar, Affinity for Artifacts. And whenever it enters the battlefield, your opponent discards a card. That's awesome. We got Frog Mirror Enforcer. Get it? Frog Mirror Enforcer. Frog by Mirror Enforcer. 7 mana for a 4/4 Affinity for Artifacts. Also has Prototype for 1 red and 3. So you can play this as a cheap creature or a bigger creature. That's pretty awesome. And then we have Furnace Hellkite, which is a 7 mana 5/5 flyer with fire breathing and Affinity for Artifacts. This thing can cost 2 red mana, which would be great. As far as a rare to look out for, we've got Imskir Iron Eater, an 8 mana 5/5 demon with Affinity for Artifacts. Whenever it ETBs, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is half the number of artifacts you control, and you can sacrifice artifacts to deal damage to things as well. This is a big one. Now, it's important to note there are no artifact lands in this set, so take your cheap artifacts high, take them early, and then get paid off big time. Next up is Red-Green Eldrazi Spawn, an aggressive take on the creepy alien Eldrazi, the Eldritch Horrors, and we got Titan's Vanguard leading the way here. 5 mana for a 5/5 with Devoid. That means that this spell has no color, so almost all the Eldrazi here are colorless, even if they cost colored mana, which is important because whenever you cast this spell, or whenever this creature attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on each colorless creature you control, meaning this thing is huge and makes everything else huge. Want to play a lot of colorless creatures. Another returning mechanic here is Eldrazi Spawn tokens, little O1s for 1 you can sack for mana. Normally they only use for mana, but in red-green you're going to pump them up. So we got Worthing Chrysalis here, which is a 4 mana 2/3 with Devoid. Whenever you cast a spell, make 2 Eldrazi Spawn tokens. Whenever you sacrifice an Eldrazi, put a counter on this. So we can see here the previous card pumps them up. This uses them for pumping. A lot of green, growing, and aggression here. Now, a lot of the Eldrazi cards go big, but in red-green, it's all about using the small ones to kind of get in. We see Void Pouncer here. It's mana for a 3/1. It's got Devoid and Kicker. Kick it, it's really, really big. And then cards like Spawn Gang Commander, a throwback to my favorite Siege Gang Commander. 5 mana for a 2/2 Devoid. When you cast this, you get 3 spawns, and you can sack an Eldrazi to deal damage, which is very, very potent as well. As far as a rare to look out for red-green, check out Eldrazi Linebreaker. 3 mana for a 3/3 trample with Devoid. Beginning combat on your turn, target you control gains haste and +X/+0, where X the number of Eldrazi you control. So this thing's going to be huge, and giving haste is very, very powerful. Note the colorless symbol, though. The Eldrazi decks care about being colorless as well. You need to have certain ways to make that colorless symbol. You can't cast this card. Going wide and going fast is red-green's name of the game. Next up is green-white Modified Bestow. Modified meaning a creature that's been equipped, enchanted, or put counters on it. And this is all about kind of pantsing up your creatures with the powerful auras and so on and so forth, and using the Bestow ability as well. We see Golden Tail Trainer here. They made it for a 1/3. All of your auras and equipments cost less for the power of this card. Whenever it attacks, other modified creatures you control get +1/+1 to end of turn, or X is Golden Tail Trainer's power. Auras, enchantments, +1/+1 counters are the name of the game. That's what makes a card like Faithful Watchdog more than it seems. It looks like a 2 mana 3/3, which is cool, but those counters on it mean it's already modified and can be powered up by other effects. We also have Bestow creatures like Glyph Elemental, which is a 2 mana 2/2 enchantment creature that can get counters, but could also bestow, meaning it can be an enchantment to go onto a creature and modify things as well. And then we have cards like Lion Umbra, which is a cheap but very powerful aura that can give +3/+3 and vigilance and reach and Umbra armor, but must go on a creature that's already modified. As a rare to look out for in this deck, check out the sneaky Kudo King Among Bears. 2 mana for a 2/2 that makes all other creatures 2/2s. Now, this is important because it makes all of your opponent's creatures 2/2s, but all of your modified creatures become 2/2s with counters and auras on top of them, making them naturally bigger. This looks to be a challenging archetype to put together, but has a lot of powerful potential. Keeping with the modified theme, the black-white mechanic is Modified Dies. So it cares about modifying your creatures, but then having them die for sacrificial effects to give you bonuses. Check out Ondu Knotmaster, 2/2 lifelink. Whenever another modified creature you control dies, put 2 counters on this, and it also has an adventure called Throw the Line, which you can put counters out there as well. So we want to modify our things and then also sacrifice them for value. And obviously, if you put a bestow creature onto a creature, when that creature dies, the bestow creature falls off and becomes a creature itself, which is really, really cool. On this path, we have Guardian of the Forgotten, 4 mana for a 4/4 Vigilance. Whenever a modified creature you control dies, you manifest the top card of your library, giving you value there. You also have Indebted Spirit, 1 mana for a 1/1 with Bestow 3, Afterlife 1. So you can put this onto a creature, sacrifice it for value, and you get the spirit itself as well as a token. But how are we sacrificing things? Good thing you asked. Check out Lethal Throwdown, 1 black mana for a sorcery. As additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature or a modified creature. This will destroy a creature or planeswalker. And if you sacrifice a modified creature, you draw a card. As far as a rare to look out for, it's not totally on theme, but check out Abstruse Appropriation, a really awesome removal spell that allows you to exile anything and then cast it for yourself later. This archetype has a lot of moving parts. It looks kind of hard to put together, but will be really, really cool once it gets there. Up next, we have Blue-Red Energy Midrange. Deck cares all about getting energy and using it for cool things. Check out Cyclops Superconductor, 3 mana for a 2/2 Prowess. Whenever it ETBs, you get 3 energy counters, and when it dies, you may pay 3 energy and deal damage equal to its power to something. You don't have to use the energy when it dies. You might want to save it up for awesome cards like Phyrexian Ironworks. 3 mana for an artifact. Whenever you attack, you get an energy. You can also tap it and pay 3 energy to make a 3/3. You can just do this over and over and over again, dumping energy into this. Also have cards like Galvanic Discharge, which is a phenomenal removal spell. Gives you energy and can kill larger things. Or if you kill a small thing, you get to keep some energy as well. Or Royal Cartographer, a cheap creature that makes energy every land drop you make and can draw cards. But for me, the real draw of this archetype is Tune the Narrative. 1 blue, instant, draw a card, 2 energy. A 2 with Aether was banned in standard for doing this sort of like 1 mana, 2 energy effect. This is super cheap, super powerful, triggers prowess, going to be one of the most important cards of the entire archetype. Check out Izzet Genitorium, 2 mana for an artifact that says whenever you get 1 or more energy, you get that many +1. And you can tap to draw a card if you've gained or lost 4 or more energy in 1 turn. This is an archetype centerpiece. Our rare to watch out for blue-red is Aether Revolt. It's a 4 mana enchantment. Whenever you get 1 or more energy, it deals that much damage to any target. This is amazing, right? So play a card, get 3 energy, bolt something. It's awesome. And it has Revolt, which turns on as long as a permanent you control has left the battlefield this turn. And if you do that and a source you control deal non-combat damage, it does that much damage +2. So very powerful way to kind of keep using your energy over and over again. Every energy you get kills things. Awesome build around. Think like a mad scientist because blue-red seems all about putting together a crazy energy machine. Like green-white and black-white, green-black modified adapt cares about modifying your creatures, but is much more focused on +1/+1 counters and the things you can do with them. Check out Expanding Ooze, the mana for a 3/3 with adapt 1, which means you pay a mana cost and get a counter on the creature. And then for attacks, you can put a counter on a modified creature you control, further buffing the team. There are a lot of really powerful effects in these colors for putting counters on creatures, like Evolution Witness, the mana for a 2/1, where whenever you put a counter on it, you get to return a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. You can do this with Adapt or other means as well. Of a similar vein, we have Dream Trigger Vampire, 2 mana for a 2/1 lifelink that can adapt and also gain Menace. And Fetid Gargantuan, which is a 5 mana 4/4, which can adapt, but also can draw cards and lose you life. Be able to look out for other ways to add counters to your creatures besides Adapt, like Wither and Bloom, an awesome removal spell here with a cool graveyard ability. As far as rares to look out for, check out Emperor of Bones, 2 mana for a 2/2 skeleton, where at the beginning of combat in your turn, you can exile a card from the graveyard, then whenever you put a counter on it, you can bring it back for 1 big attack. A lot of the cards in green-black have built-in synergy, making it look like a really, really powerful deck. Rounding out the energy trio is red-white energy aggro. None of that mid-range stuff, none of that flyer stuff, just gonna get you dead. Check out Conduit Goblin, 2 mana for a 2/2. When it ETBs, you get 2 energy. Beginning of combat in your turn, you may pay an energy, and if you do, you can give a creature haste and +1/+0. This is going to start the beats early and often. As well as Hexgold Slith, 2 mana for a 2/1. It gives you 2 energy, can gain first strike, and also grow on combat. The real prize for this color pair, however, is Scurry of Gremlins, 4 mana for an enchantment. When it comes into play, you get 2 Gremlin tokens and a bunch of energy. And you can spend 4 energy at a shot to give all your things haste and +1/+0. This is great for going wide and finishing a game. As for a rare for this archetype, check out Guide of Souls, 1 mana for a 1/2. Whenever another creature ETBs, you get a life and an energy. Whenever you attack, you can pay 3 energy to make a creature into a huge flying angel. Don't be shy at this archetype, be aggressive, and spend your energy, you can't take it with you. And our last archetype, and perhaps the one that looks like the most fun, is Eldrazi Ramp. Blue and green is all about casting huge colorless Eldrazi cards, and we see that here in Snapping Void Craw. I think for a 1/3, it's got Devoid, taps for 2 colorless, and taps for 4 mana to draw a card if you spend a colorless. Now remember, those colorless symbols must be used for colorless mana, so you can't tap an island to make the symbol. You must have a land that makes colorless, or an ability that makes colorless also. Speaking of making colorless mana, these Scion tokens made by cards like Eldrazi Repurposer are fantastic for this, as well as ramping. And then we have more direct cards like Nightshade, Dry Eye, which, makes a mana of colorless or any color. Once you have all this mana, what are you doing with it? You're casting huge freaking alien spaghetti monsters. Breaker of Creation is an 8 mana 8/4. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each colorless permanent you control. That includes lands. It has hexproof from each color and Annihilator 2. This thing's a house. But remember, you gotta use colorless mana for those 2 symbols. And of course, sometimes your big ones only cost a bajillion mana. Wumpus Aberration is 4 mana for a 6/6 with Devoid. And as long as you cast it with at least 1 colorless mana, your opponent won't get a creature for free. As far as a rare to look out for, check out Null Drifter, a 7 mana 4/4 flyer with cast this spell, draw 2 cards, and Annihilator 1. And you can also evoke it for 3 mana, giving you 2 cards on the cheap if needed. This is definitely a go big or go home archetype. So going over it all, we see kind of pockets of synergy. We see red, white, and blue all caring about energy. We see green, white, and black all caring about modified creatures. Red, green, and blue caring about Eldrazi. And then we have blue, black card draw, and black, red artifacts kind of hanging out doing their own thing. One really important thing is to look for synergy between the different archetypes. So for example, a card like Airy Auxiliary, 4 mana for a 3/3 flyer, ETB support, which means to put counters on your creatures, can play well in a blue-white flyers deck or a green-white modified deck. Also a card like Emrakul's Messenger. This can play well in a blue-white flyers deck, this can play well in a blue-black card draw deck, or play well in a blue-green ramp deck. Figuring out what cards go where is what makes Limited beautiful. So that's about all I got for today, and I bet you're chomping at the bit to get your hands on some Modern Horizons 3-packs and get to drafting. Well, you'll be able to June 7th through 13th. The pre-releases will be starting at your local store. So get out there, enjoy the set, have fun, and good luck.